56. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Wolo.
Look up on the wall. There on the wall. Under the pillow. Behind the door. There's a crack in the mirror. Somewhere there's a hole in the vein.
First games of college football are in the books. First games for the NFL right around the corner. So, we've got all of it covered with our new fall lineup in about 8 minutes or so. Our friend Steve Earhart from the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, the Big Cheese, the head honcho. We'll talk college football. I'll get into it in just 1 second. And then Jeff Moore, who, of course, former Ram receiver. Boy, did he play the game, unfortunately for him, too early, because that's the new glory position for money. Jeff Moore's going to join us, as always, to talk about the upcoming season, and then we end Tuesdays. It's a big NFL day for us, with Mike Keith, the voice of the Tennessee Titans. I texted him, this week it's for real. We bear down at 10:45, because they do take on the Chicago Bears, and the Bears have sort of become a kind of a darling playoff pick. That NFC North, that might be one of the best divisions. We'll ask Jeff Moore about that as well. So the Tigers took the first step of what they hope will be a playoff berth kind of a season, and they beat North Alabama as kind of like they should. They did not have a great second half. They scored only 9 points. They missed a field goal. They missed an extra point. That really got the ire of their head coach, Ryan Silverfield. But they did a lot of good things. They have a passing game. Seth was terrific, 22 of 30, 308 yards, 2 touchdowns. The long was 45. He had one that would have been like a 60-yarder that was right in the hands of a receiver who just didn't bring it down. So here's the positives. Seth and the receivers, because Memphis has a bunch of those. They have a improved defense. Now, you know, it's always tough to really kind of measure because you have no idea how good the team that you're facing is really in a first game. And I think it's a pretty safe assumption. North Alabama struggled offensively against SEMO, right? They scored a couple of touchdowns in that game, but they got shut out in this game. So what more can you ask of a defense than to shut a team out? They ended up with only a total of 185 yards on 59 snaps. The team speed on defense, to me, is impressive. That's not going to go away. Now, I'm gauging that on, this UAC, United Athletic Conference. So we're not talking about a great conference here, right? But it sure seems to me that defense is improved, and the speed is a big plus. What are the question marks? What are the negatives you saw? Well, for one, the run game. When you have 26 carries and get only 59 yards, that would seem to be a problem. When you lose your best running back, listed as number 1 or 1A, because Mario Anderson, who did have a decent game, but only really played in the first half, ended up with 46 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Sutton Smith, it seems to me, is probably going to be out for the rest of the year. Now, here's the good news on Sutton Smith. This kid This kid played a lot as a true freshman. He's never had a redshirt year. So he can have a redshirt year or a medical redshirt year. Either way, he's covered. He's only a junior. He definitely can play 2 more years. If he cannot go the rest of the way because of the holiday, I believe he's getting his MRI today. But the coaching staff certainly doesn't seem very optimistic about it. So I'm getting the feel that we'll be talking about a redshirt year I would suspect for Sutton Smith. That still leaves you with 3 guys, right? Well, on paper, it does. Because Mario Anderson spent the second half on a bench, or I should say on the bike. He didn't play. Brandon Thomas, who was a starter a couple of years ago, now is like your inside the 10-yard line running back, sure hands, nose for the goal line. He did not play in the second half. You're down to your third guy, Greg DeWozier, which that's how it's supposed to be pronounced, even though the coaching staff hasn't figured that out. He ended up with 4 carries on 11 yards. I thought it was better than that, but he seems to have some potential. Let's put it that way. He's got speed. And then they had to bring a true freshman, a 17-year-old, off the bench who weighs 222, a big-bodied guy, but that's how they closed the game. Now, he's, for whatever reason, Ryan Silverfield really hasn't talked about Anderson or BT. Those are big question marks going into this game with Troy, which will be very, very big. And also, I would say the offensive line, that was not exactly powerhouse. 3 new pieces. They've got to learn how to play together. On paper, I know the coaches were really excited about this, but they did not play great. I think that's a fair assessment. And the other big question mark would be the place kicker, Caden Costa, who came from Ole Miss. Costa has definitely got a leg, but he missed a 50-yarder wide to the left side. A lot of side spin, as Greg Gaston described it from the sideline view. And then I'm not going to blame him for the missed extra point, because if you look at the video on that, the offensive lineman got pushed into the holder, who's the punter, who did have a good night. And so the whole timing of that thing was screwed up. That was a special teams play as opposed to just the place kicker. But I know Ryan Silverfield was really annoyed with his kicker after the game, because he basically took him to task on the air. So there were good things, definitely, but there were question marks. Good things for all the neighborhood teams in the SEC. Arkansas did something that is hard to do. Every time they ran an offensive series, they scored a touchdown. 10 series, 10 touchdowns, 70 points. Of course, that's on Arkansas Pine Bluff. Tennessee puts up 69 on Chattanooga. Ole Miss puts up 76 on Furman. And Jackson Dart had 400-plus yards in the first half. Boy, that looks like a juggernaut of an offense. We knew that, but now it's Furman. Mississippi State, debut of Jeff Lebby and his crew. They scored 56 points. That was against Eastern Kentucky. I thought, if you want impressive, how about Vanderbilt? They beat Virginia Tech. No one saw that one coming. So a much-needed win for the Doors to start the year. And now you're thinking they're not the worst team in the SEC. That might belong to South Carolina, who barely got past Old Dominion.
Anchored down?
Yes, I'm high on them. You know, they I think it's November 30th. If they were to win, and I should look up their schedule really quick, but if they were to win maybe another 1 or 2 games in the conference before they play Tennessee, that's at home, that place may be packed for the Vols, with actually some Doors fans in there. That would be nice. The hot seat got really hot for Florida the way they lost to Miami and A&M. You know, just falling at home. Great crowd. Didn't get it done in the end. Notre Dame is pretty good. LSU lost another one, another opener, I should say. Brian Kelly blamed the players. USC looked pretty good in that game, though, on a neutral. And now Florida State losing at home opener to BC? They were 16.5-point favorites in that game. Yeah, the first time when they lost in Ireland, I really didn't mind it that much because if you figured it out, and we're going to talk with Steve Earhart about this in a second, if you really kind of figured it out, you would say to yourself, okay, now Memphis could get a bye in the first round. Now they've lost 2 conference games. I mean, they'd have to win out. And the really bad thing is this team they got a bye. Well, they don't have a bye because they played Monday, but they don't play until they play Memphis 2 weeks from now. So they're going to have all this time to break stuff down, and it is must need. This definitely was not what the doctors ordered. 2 quick notes. The Chicago White Sox are on the verge of being the worst team in the modern era. 1899, the Cleveland Spiders won only 20 games. So the White Sox, who are now 31-108, are surpassing that. Okay. They have another losing streak, 11 in a row. This is a better streak. 20 straight losses when the starter is Chris Flexen. The White Sox must have no pitching staff whatsoever because you would think after 17, 18, 19, you go, we're not going to start Chris Flexen. He can't win. 20, and of course they've only won 31 games and lost 108. That's 22%. With 23 games to go, that would mean if you just factor it out with the current pace, they would win only 5 more games. That would mean they would win 36 games on the year. The worst team in the modern era were the New York Mets of 1962. The 62 Mets of Casey Stengel won 40 games and lost 120. They only played 160 that year. They didn't make up the 2 games they missed.
And then they shut down their ace pitcher. Well, they didn't shut him down, but they limited him and Garrett Crochet for like 4 innings. After starting off the year really well, they pretty much limited him.
Well, I think the White Sox are going to break them on the record. I don't think you're going to get to 40 wins. On this pace, at 22% winning percentage, they'll win 5 more games. Wow. I mean, that's just unheard of, but it looks like that is the way it's going to end up for the Chicago White Sox. One last quick note, and then we got to bring in our good buddy Steve Earhart. Scotty Scheffler, you had him, right? I let you have him? $62.3 million. That, by the way, is 9% of the prize money, just slightly under what Tiger Woods won in one of his glorious years. So it's the second best percentage, I think, of prize money. But I saw this. This is the most amazing thing. Scotty Scheffler made $3,000 every time he struck the ball. $3,000 a shot. When you make $62.3 million in the 19 tournaments he won. Yeah, that's incredible. He literally won 8 tournaments this year with the Olympics. 8. Outstanding stuff for Scotty Scheffler. That is for sure. We're sitting in the Family Leisure Studios, and don't forget the world's biggest spa sale going on at the Family Leisure at I-40 and Wooden Road, where you can save thousands on in-stock hot tubs. They're ready for delivery. I know they had a little bit of a Labor Day sale as well. They had these 2 things going on. I believe the biggest spa sale, with the spa starting at $28.99, is continuing. Cold plunges, the newest thing. They're under $4,000, and the swim spas start at $17,499, and there is special financing available. Sort of a summation of this week in college football with Big Eyes, and I know he was at the Tigers football game as the Big Cheese, the head honcho of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, Steve Earhart. Your impressions. First, let's start with the stadium where your game will be played in late December. Did you like what you saw? You kind of pleased and 32,000, that's, I think, what it will hold. Are you going to keep it at that number, or would you have temporary seats for the bowl game? Good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning, David. Yes, and I was pleasantly surprised. Kudos to the University of Memphis. They had a lot of work to do there towards the last few weeks, pulling it together, and everybody worked hard. And I think most of the fans, I'm sure there were a few glitches, but I think everybody left there pretty happy about ingress and egress and the services and the gates. I know there was a few jam ups there, and I think it's always going to be a problem getting up and down the elevators since you've got a combination with the sky boxes and the press box as well. But yes, overall job well done, both on the field and off the field, and hopefully this coming Saturday there'll even be a bigger crowd. But I know the university is shooting on that 32% or 32,000 number at our game, the AutoZone Liberty Bowl game, December 27th. We're counting on being up to 40,000,
How would you do
capacity for that game.
How?
There, those, I guess I call them those, decks that they have out there. Some of the folks might have sat in them underneath these skyboxes. Those will be gone. The university utilizes them for some of those people. That opens up some of that seating up below the skyboxes, and then also a couple of those sections there close before you get to the gap or the hole, whatever you want to call it, so that there should be 40,000 seats available for our game. And of course, it depends a lot on which universities we get in our game, the capacity we're going to need. But we're shooting for 40,000, and that's the target that everybody, the architects and the contractors, all are working on.
As you watched all the college football this weekend, what were some of the things that impressed you, and maybe some of the things that you went, uh-oh?
Bill O'Brien. That's the name of the day. Those of you who remember Bill O'Brien, who is an outstanding coach. He'd been in the NFL. He's a guy that's very gifted, a motivator, and he sure had that Boston College team ready. And of course, Dave, on your show, I've talked for many, many years, the trigger of any successful college program is the quarterback. I mean, with the quarterback, handling the ball almost every play, and he has to make plays on, throwing the ball 30 to 40 times a game. These days, if you have a quarterback that can make it happen, you're in trouble. And that was, although BC handled both sides of the line of scrimmage, there's no question that the quarterback comparisons there with the quarterback for Florida State struggling, and then, that quarterback that made plays with both his arm and his legs for BC. And then, again, Mike Norvell is a good coach, though. And what you said earlier, you give him these extra, 12 days to get prepared for the Tigers. Florida State will maybe be ready better than ever. So the Tigers are going to have to go in there but they have to take care of business with Troy. Don't sleep on Troy this week. So hopefully all the Tiger fans will be out there supporting, because Troy's got some athletes, and they'll be much more competitive than North Alabama.
I would tell you what I would be worried about if I were Mike Norvell. Well, the physicality in both the games that he's had on both sides of the ball has not been very good. I mean, I know they lost a lot, 15 guys or something like that to the NFL. They're supposed to have this great defensive line. That defensive line has been pushed around in both games. Yesterday, Bill O'Brien's team, they ran the ball down their throat. They were not an effective passing team, so they were not even balanced, and they still could run down the field on that team. I don't know. Can you fix it? You're a coach. You used to be a coach in your youth. Do you believe you can fix that in 12 days?
Well, in sports today, and again, we've talked about it in college football, is it really, good old give a try for old you? It's more about the payroll. And, I look at that and say, are we talking about professional or semi-professional? But the majority of those Florida State players, it looked to me like there's some issues of effort, and is there dissension really going on? I think Mike will get it taken care of, but effort is certainly a question mark after, as you said, Dave. I mean, they got pushed around by BC, and so, I would like to look behind the scenes there. Is there some unrest among the employees, so to speak, because you always worry about that when, and especially you look at it in the NFL. When teams go south, they're upset. One guy's making more money than the other guy, and maybe effort seems to drift away, because you're 100% right. There was a lack of effort there by a lot of those players, especially down in the trenches.
I got to ask you about the other side of your matchup, because I've talked about all the SEC teams. Tell me about the Big 12. Look, Texas Tech, which I thought might be a decent team this year, they got taken to almost disaster by Abilene Christian. That went to overtime. Tech finally won that game. Anybody really like wow you? Arizona over New Mexico, maybe?
Yeah, and as the Big 12 has said, they're kind of an even sea here right now. Everybody's bobbing in the water. They're about equal. There's no one team that you say, oh, they're going to go up and whip everybody, And so whether it's a team that's struggling to get through the week or a team that's there's, in my opinion, there's probably 7 or 8 different teams that could be in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. One team that, of course, I'm going to look and watch closely is Gus Malzahn down at UCF. I mean, if the quarterback that transferred from Arkansas, and those of you who came to the AutoZone Liberty Bowl 2 years ago when you saw Jefferson just a monster on the field, and then, of course, he had injuries the following year and issues, and so he took the pay to go down to UCF. He left Arkansas, and some people at Arkansas say that just as well. They were happy to move him along. But that happens now when everybody's out there, and it's not about the Jimmys and Joes. It's about the Benjamins. How many Benjamins are out there for these transfers, and especially at the quarterback position. Quarterbacks are making big doggone money around the country. So I'm thinking that UCF, with Gus Malzahn being the crafty coach that he is, they could emerge as well. But then you've got the Kansas States and Iowa States, and but at any time a team can get motivated. Look what happened last year when Seth Hennigan just torched Iowa State in that first quarter with the three dimes there that he threw. So teams can jump up. So I'm looking potentially at UCF being a team that can compete for the title.
Houston will not, apparently.
Houston is really
killed by UNLV.
Yeah, but that's our buddy Odom
Barry
out
Odom.
there.
Yeah, I know
Barry Odom, and coaching and quarterback play at the college level. You look at that, just like talked about Bill O'Brien, and he had a quarterback that he may not have thrown a lot, but boy, he was electric, making big plays there. So you put a good quarterback with a good coach, and you got something. And the quarterback position is the leader on the field. And if you look back at the teams that have won titles over the years, they've always had a quarterback that everybody looked to. Remember the days of Tim Tebow when he just, he would kick the butts of those offensive and defensive linemen. There would be effort. When Tim Tebow was in the leadership position, they would win games. Now look at Florida. They're struggling, got great recruiting, great university, a lot of resources there, but what's going on there? So
the team that beat him had a quarterback. Miami's Cam Ward was pretty good.
You made
game.
the point.
Yeah.
You hit it right on the head.
Exactly.
So, and that's why I'm so positive about the Tigers with Seth Hennigan and his leadership there and the culture that Ryan has established in the team. I'm very bullish about the Tigers' season this year. So I hope everybody gets out there. And Dave, I'll have to be. I'll be at the game, but I wish I could. I guess I should put some earplugs to hear your call. You must have been pretty excited during the game. They're calling all those touchdowns.
All you got to do is bring a radio, like the old transistor radios. People used to do that all the time.
I'm probably the only guy in Memphis that has an old transistor radio to carry around.
There you go. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. We'll talk next Tuesday.
Thank you, David.
That is our Big Cheese, our head honcho from the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. That is Steve Earhart. We pause for a second. When we come back, Jeff Moore again on the air with us, another year on the NFL. He's live in studio in just a minute.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ. Getaway Sports Bar, the best kept secret in town. Open noon to 1:30 a.m. 7 days a week. Garden created this SEC NFL Dream Bar over 20 years ago. You'll never miss a minute of action. 10 TVs, 5 70-inch TVs for all the big games. Come up on 6 pool tables. This year in town, local swing get you some bar. Chicken tenders, daily happy hour Monday through Friday, 10 to 6 p.m. Call Megan 1625 Getaway Sports Bar, 2632 Winchester.
Are you in a hideous person hogging the sidewalk like a large dying snail? Do people stuck behind you ask, how do you sleep at night? Then you should go to Mattress Firm. They have tons of quality beds at every price. So anyone, even people like you, can sleep. You've matched at Mattress Firm. Sleep at night. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
So you need to sell your house? I have the solution. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill and I buy houses. Any house, any area, as is. It's literally as simple as that. Just pick up your phone. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill and I buy houses. Guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your house fast, call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's Bill and I buy houses.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloship.
An inventory.
I love football for so many reasons. One of them, though, is we get to see Jeff Moore. Jeff, good morning. How many years now have you been doing this between myself and George Lapidus?
We were talking about this. 30. This is 31.
31
Wow.
years. Wow.
Yeah. Time flies.
Former Ram, former Tennessee Vol. I know you had to be pretty impressed with. I always am trying to figure out how you say this Tennessee quarterback's name. I guess it's Iamaleava, something of
Close
that
enough
nature.
for me, yeah.
We know he can throw the football, that is for certain, and
Yeah.
they've got receivers. They look pretty good. We'll talk a little bit about that in a
Yeah.
second. But let's talk National Football League.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you love to do. And I started thinking about this earlier. The new glory position with all the money is receiver. That was your position.
Yeah.
It's a shame they weren't paying that kind of money when you were there, huh?
I'm delighted to see players getting those kind of salaries this time around, and I mean it's generational wealth. I think the guys are managing the money a lot better. But whenever I see a player signing those kinds of contracts, it just lets me know the teams are doing really well and the league is doing well.
No doubt.
So it's good for the league overall. But yeah, I'm excited to see players getting that kind of compensation at that position.
Starts for real on Thursday. There's a football game on Friday in Brazil. For Thursday night, it's the defending champs Kansas City against Baltimore. And then a good one, Green Bay will be playing the Eagles, and
yeah.
that'll be in Brazil on that Friday. That should be fun. Give me some of your favorite storylines. Maybe it's we've got a new coach in L.A. with the Chargers that used to be. Look, I think he's kind of a tarnished guy. The Jim Harbaugh, who is going to pros because frankly, I think he was going to be run out of the college game.
Right. Well, I've always been a big fan of Jim Harbaugh in terms of the way he's able to go in and change the culture of a team and get them on a winning track. He's done it. He did it with the 49ers. He did it in college before. He did it at Michigan. And we'll see what happens with the Chargers. He's got a great young quarterback in Hebert and Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert. And Justin Herbert, his first 3 years in the league now is the best start of any quarterback in the history of the NFL in terms of yardage and touchdowns. So he's got a lot to work with. But, man, you're in that division with the Chiefs. And, to get through that gauntlet, you got to be able to get through Kansas City. So it's going to be fascinating to see how he's able to get that team resurrected. But I expect them to play better and be better as a result of him being there. One of the best storylines and one of the teams that I'll really be interested in seeing this year, though, is Baltimore because, they led the league in rushing. The last couple of years have been one of the top 5 teams, and now they get Derrick Henry. They've got Lamar Jackson, a slimmed-down version of Lamar Jackson, who improved his passing last year as well as was the MVP. They bring in Derrick Henry, so I mean they've got some weapons to really challenge. This game Thursday night will be an interesting barometer to see how much they've improved and how they're able to get on the same page playing against Kansas City. But that's going to be an interesting storyline to watch, is how is Baltimore able to get better as a result.
Oh, they got a top 5 defense, too,
yes.
by most prognostications. So I agree with you. I think they're terrific. But everybody wants to talk about the Jets because they've got a great defense that sort of takes a back seat to the story of Aaron Rodgers and his return after 3 snaps last year. He's 40 years old. He did go through not many OTAs, but he did go through training camp that he called was the most taxing training camp he's ever been involved with, and apparently came through it quite well. What do you think of his return? How good do you think he will be?
I'm interested to see how he plays. I think he's still a great quarterback, one of the best ones we've seen in the game. And it sounds like he's healed and going to be okay as far as that injury is concerned. He's got some good weapons, got a young receiver that's close to an all-pro. And, again, that defense is stellar. So if he's able to keep this offense effective, getting first downs, having some ball possession, and allowing this defense to rest and just play the best that they can be, they've got a pretty good chance to make some noise in that AFC, especially given the fact that, Buffalo has lost some guys. Miami's going to be formidable. I think Miami's probably the best team in that division. But I'm curious to see how Aaron Rodgers plays, if he's able to stay healthy, what that means for this offense. Their running game still, a question mark for me. But I think he makes a big difference in the confidence of this offense going forward.
Are you a believer in Tua, like the Dolphins apparently were?
I am. I am a believer in Tua. I love his accuracy. I love the fact that he was able to play healthy all last year, which was huge for him. And he's got incredible weapons out there. They re-signed Waddle. We already know Tyreek Hill is a nightmare for most defensive coordinators. Raheem Mostert was one of the leading rushers. So they've got a lot of weapons. Again, their challenge is playing better defensively because they can score. They can score on anybody. But can they keep other teams from scoring? That's going to be the big question in Miami for me.
What do you think of the Niners? Because most people predict the Niners to win the NFC.
I like the Niners. They've got 11, most of their starters coming back, and they were one of the best teams offensively all year long. It looks like they've worked out a contract for Trent Williams, which is going to make a big difference in having their offensive line intact and them being able to protect Brock Purdy's blind side. So again, this is a team that I think everybody's got to beat. I think Detroit's, I expect them to be better. I love what their coach has done with the culture of that team. They're playing with a lot of confidence. But the NFC, San Francisco is probably the team to beat. I like what the Eagles did in the offseason. Unfortunately, they kind of fell off the cliff the end of the season last year after starting out like 10-1. But they got Saquon Barkley, and I think that's going to make a big difference. They've got a new offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore. They've got a new defensive coordinator. It's a matter of them all getting on the same page, and I think the Eagles can make a run and be a challenge. And, of course, we know the Cowboys every year. Question mark in Cowboy land. They didn't do a lot in the offseason as far as bringing in more talent. And, Dak is going to be playing for his job. Their head coach is going to be playing for his. I mean, if they don't do it this year, that team is going to basically be blown up and they're going to have to start all over again.
I don't know about Dallas. I just don't understand what Jerry Jones does. It looked like CeeDee Lamb took a long time for him to get his money. There was no question. He deserved the money if we're looking at the way the NFL is evolving.
Yeah.
And you look at salaries, this guy absolutely deserved the cash he finally got.
He did.
But I don't know what they think about Dak Prescott. And they keep him like sort of hanging out there. I don't know what that does for his psyche for sure. Do you believe in Dak, and do you believe in Dallas?
I believe in Dak. The challenge, I think, is you hit the nail right on the head. Somehow mentally, when it gets to playoff time, it seems like he shrinks to some extent. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league during regular season, but somehow in the playoffs, he doesn't play as well, and that's going to be the challenge for him, regardless of how great he might be during a regular season. Can they get it done in the playoffs? So I like him. I'm a big fan of Dak as a person, the way he carries himself, the way he plays during a regular season, but I need to see more in the playoffs for me to really be one of the big guys in his court.
You mentioned Detroit in the NFC North. Minnesota's gotten just totally decimated with injuries, but they were a good conversation piece, at least as training camps began to open. Green Bay is high on a lot of people's list, and they think Jordan Love is going to emerge as the next one of the great quarterbacks. And then there's the Bears, and they're sort of like everybody's Cinderella darling, at least up to this point. Win 4 in the exhibition games. They've got Caleb Williams, who some are saying will be the best Bears quarterback ever, because you got to go back to Sid Luckman to get a great quarterback, which is the 40s, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Long, long time ago. What do you think of that division, and do you think the Bears have a chance, as some have said, to finally make the playoffs?
So I love what Green Bay has done. I was really impressed with the way Jordan Love played again in the playoffs. I mean, he was a great regular season quarterback, but a young quarterback, a rookie, playing the way he played in the playoffs, I think was huge. They've got some good pieces on offense. They've got a good defense, I think. They're going to challenge Detroit for that division title. I think they're going to be better as a team. Chicago, I think, is probably just going to take them some time to get better. But I like what they did in bringing Caleb Williams in. I like that they got some good pieces around him. And Keenan Allen, a guy that's experienced, knows how to get the first downs. And, it's a matter of them protecting him. That's the biggest concern I have for rookie quarterbacks, is that they don't get the shell shock from punishment as a result of a lack of protection. So if they're able to protect him, have a decent running game, decent intermediate passing, let him continue to develop his skills as a quarterback, they could be formidable. Yeah,
they got a top 10 defense. People don't realize how good their D is.
Yeah, their defense is good. So, I mean, I think I see them maybe being in the third spot in that division. And, of course, as you said, Minnesota's got a lot of work to do. The
Bears open with the Titans. We're going to talk to Mike Keith, their voice here, and this will be the lineup for the rest of the year. We're excited about that.
Yeah.
Give me your impressions on the Titans and that division, too, which has Jacksonville, Houston, and Indy.
Well, for me, the Titans have a lot of work to do. I mean, it's going to be a gauntlet. I like the Houston Texans and what they did in the regular season last year. Who would expect a rookie quarterback and a rookie coach to be able to make it to the playoffs? That's not happened. I think it's only happened 3 times in the history of the league. And C.J. Stroud just showed that he is a tremendous young quarterback. I mean, he throws the ball well. He makes good decisions. He doesn't turn the ball over. Then they add Stephon Diggs to that offense. I think that's going to be major for them. And then it's the second team for me in that division is Jacksonville. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback. That team seems to be trending.
They gave him big money.
Yeah, they seem to be trending in the right direction. They've got Christian Kirk in that offense as well. And then, the Colts, to me, they get Anthony Richardson back. They're going to be formidable. They get Jonathan Taylor, who led the league a couple years ago in rushing, one of the best backs a few years ago, but had some injuries. So, I mean, for the Titans to make a run, I mean, they're going to really have a challenge just in their division to be able to make some noise. So it'll be interesting to see what they're able to do.
I think we all respected Mike Vrabel. I don't know that because of what had happened with Tennessee that people were going, oh, you can't fire him. But I think everybody kind of liked him and respected him. What do you think of Brian Callahan?
Jury's still out. I think we'll just have to see. I mean, you see coordinators get elevated to that position, and sometimes they're able to make the transition and be successful, and sometimes they aren't. I just need a little bit more of a sample size, but I think they're going to be challenged week in and week out in that division to be better. They're going to have to be mistake-free, play good defense, and hope that their offense can score and play ball possession.
Last thing, your Vols. I said to you when they first hired Josh Heupel, if he gets a quarterback and receivers, that offense is going to be terrific. And it sure looked that way against UT Chattanooga this week. This kid can fire, and he's got receivers.
They were really impressive. I think the game upcoming against North Carolina State will probably be a better barometer as to how good this offense can be. Obviously, the experts think that they're one of the top 15, 20 teams in the country. That offense is exciting to watch, especially with the way that they throw the ball down the field with their receivers. And their receivers are just solid. They run great routes. They catch the ball with their hands. They have a respectable running game. I think it's going to be interesting for the Vols this year.
That game's in Charlotte, I believe, with NC State, and that really is kind of a neutral.
Yeah.
So should be a fun one to watch. It's so good to have you back. 31 years and still counting. Love it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate it. Jeff Moore on the NFL, brought to you in part by Ken Garland. Ken Garland Custom Home Builders, third generation now. You got the two Kens, and now you've got William. Yeah, he's in the business now, and, man, they just do quality work. That's why I say go to kengarland.com. I want you to see what I'm talking about. And know this, because you'll hear Ken talk about it himself. The thing about Ken Garland Custom Home Builders, the job's really never done. They're with you the whole way. That's why they always get repeat business, because whether it's a brand new home, new land, whether they provided the land or they figured out how to utilize the land that's been in your family, it's never totally completed because they're always there to help you tweak or do whatever. And renovations. If you want a modern home out of your old location, but you don't want to leave because it's the lot you love, it's where you've been forever, they can do everything new, every modern amenity to make it a brand new palace. That's what they do. Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. Please go to the website, see what I'm talking about. Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. Then give him a call. You'll love talking to him because he sees little details, big picture all at once. And no, the job is never totally done if you've got Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. Back in a minute, we go to Nashville, the voice of the Titans. Mike Keith is getting ready. He and the Titans will face the Bears. That'll be a lot of fun this Sunday. We talk about that in just a minute.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hi, fellas. Bill Russell at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers. It's almost football time now. The days are getting shorter, the weather's changing, and we all are beginning to at least think about Christmas. But between now and Christmas, many of you may have a special lady with a birthday or an anniversary to celebrate, an occasion to show her how much you care. Jewelry, no matter the reason, is always the best gift to let her know how important she is, and we can help you. Visit us at 4646 Poplar. Come see our wide selection of the finest jewelry in Memphis, jewelry that's guaranteed to make her happy. Come see the most magnificent diamonds and gemstones that truly dance with beauty and will put a smile on her face. Men, we can help you find just the perfect piece, the piece that says I love you. For years, we've offered the most stunning jewelry in Memphis, and when you couple that jewelry with our quality, beauty, value, and service, you'll be glad you joined the Russell Brothers Fine Jewelry family. Come see us at 4646 Poplar at Perkins, Russell Brothers Jewelers.
Wake up. Breakfast. And Nature Made vitamins. Whatever your morning sounds like, Nature Made fits right in. Whether you're looking for vitamin C or a multivitamin to get key nutrients, we've got you covered. Now that's a good morning. We take care of you so you can take on your day. Start your day with Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist-recommended vitamin and supplement brand, based on a survey of pharmacists who recommend branded vitamins and supplements.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home at Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home, Town Village.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
All we hear is Radio Gaga, Radio Goo-Goo, Radio Gaga. All we hear is Radio Gaga, Radio Gaga.
It all starts for real in the National Football League Thursday night. Defending champ Kansas City and Baltimore. What a great game that'll be. Then in Brazil on Friday night, it'll be Green Bay and the Philadelphia Eagles. As usual now, Mike Keith joins us every Tuesday. And Mike, I want you to consider this because we know on Sunday in Chicago it starts for real for the Titans and for you. And I know how much preparation that you do, all of us broadcasters do, for a particular football game. I want you to consider this the last piece of prep for your game because I've got a feeling you might hear a lot of this.
Wow.
Just want you to be totally prepared for everything that may be coming your way.
Why do I come on your show? I mean,
it's only once every few years that we do this.
Well, you know, I mean, I've had a couple of bad experiences with the Bears and the Titans in my time. Actually, a bad experience with the Bears and the Tennessee Oilers at Vanderbilt.
Really? So, what happened?
Yeah, that was the game in '98 where an assistant coach, it was a 3-point game, and an assistant coach told Al Del Greco, that we had made a first down on second down. And so he went back to start kicking in the net to potentially try a game-tying field goal. It turns out on the next play was third down, we didn't make it, and they couldn't find him.
Oh, gosh.
And so they sprinted Craig Hentrick out to try the field goal. And Dave Craig was holding. The field goal was blocked. We were doing the game. Again, the game was at Vanderbilt. We were the Tennessee Oilers. Floyd Reese came into the Vanderbilt home locker room and ripped the hinges off the door where I was doing the post-game interview.
Oh, my gosh. Oh.
And so I'm terrified. You know, I'm like, whoa, this is real. I mean, not like scared of him, but I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to ask? I mean, I'm with defensive coordinator Greg Williams doing the post-game interview with him while this is happening. And I mean, as most NFL fans, Greg Williams is no shrinking violet himself. And he's like, wow, that was really something. Well, then it just got worse. I'm listening to the post-game show, driving to dinner, and it's horrendous. Why did we bring this team here? These people are incompetent. When the reality was it was a mistake, and, of course, they're blaming Del Greco. Everybody's thrown Del Greco under the bus. The assistant coach did not admit publicly that he was the one that had told Del Greco wrong.
Right.
That came out after. I mean, it became a whole thing. Well, then I go to post-game dinner with my wife's family. My wife is from Crown Point, Indiana, 45 minutes outside of Chicago. her dad and his new wife are elated how the game has turned out. And I got them the tickets, and I had to tell her, I think the new wife was actually wearing Bears gear. I had to let them know, you can root for whoever you want to, but if you're using my tickets and if I'm buying dinner, you ain't rooting for anybody but the Titans. We all had quite a lesson in that experience.
Wow. Well, this is in Chicago. You're not going to have to worry about any of that. And I think it's going to be a heck of a game. The Bears are favorites, but only really because of home field advantage. Who knows that much about them? Before we break that down a little bit, let's just go back. This team has to learn a whole new system with a new head coach. What did you learn about your Titans over the last 6 weeks?
I think the big thing that I learned is a lot of the Vrabel stuff still sticks in terms of the to borrow the Memphis term, the grit and grind. It's funny because Brian Callahan had alluded to that. He's like, I didn't have to teach this bunch how to practice and how to get after it. It was already baked in, and I think that's pretty obvious, which is certainly a good thing. Brian Callahan is not trying to reinvent the wheel, which I think is really the reason this club may have a chance to have some success in year one. Because, you're familiar with the term smartest guy in the room disease.
Sure.
He doesn't have it. He does not have that. He's alluded to the fact that Vrabel did a lot of good things and that, this thing wasn't a total breakdown and a total rebuild. And so I think they've taken the good things from what was already in place, and then he's adding things offensively and defensively, changing the schemes, and I think he's had a realistic view of how long that's going to take. I think there's just an overriding sense of optimism, even if it doesn't show Sunday at Soldier Field. It may. They may come out and be a little better than what everybody thinks. My sense of history is it takes time to put, even a group of veterans together. It takes some time, but I get what they're going for, and I think everybody's on the same page. So it's kind of a nice feeling going into this game, Dave.
As you've broken it down and talked to the coaches, what are some of the keys in that game? I would suspect one would be to confuse a rookie quarterback.
I think so, but I don't know how much of that you're actually going to be able to do. I really don't. Because this kid is I think he's so smart, and I think he is so the real deal. To me, it's going to be about the secondary play and how they cover these receivers, because I think the Bears are going to go out of their way to protect him. I think they're going to keep an extra man in. I think they're going to do whatever they have to protect Caleb Williams. But if you cover and he's got to hold the ball, even 6 guys can't protect forever. And I think that's the number one key in this ball game about going against him is this new secondary has to keep Keenan Allen and DJ Williams and Cole Kmet, even the backs, under control to where he's got to hold the football. If he has to hold the football, he's probably going to have problems with Jeffrey Simmons and Tavondre Sweat and Sebastian Joseph Day.
Yeah.
So to me, I think that's what it's all about.
All right. We look forward to games in your division. A lot of people high on Houston. Jacksonville just paid their quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, a lot of money. They believe in him. There's always Indy and the tradition that you guys have with the Colts. Give me a breakdown of what you think will happen with this division.
I think it's the Jaguars' division to lose. I think they have, on paper, the best team. Houston is the team with the most hype. I think it's very realistic that both of those teams end up being playoff teams. Indianapolis, who knows with Richardson? They have the best defense potentially in the division, which makes them really scary. But I mean, if they have to go to Joe Flacco, they're a completely different team. And I think the Richardson factor and his injury history is what scares you to death, because in essence, this is his rookie year. I played, 4 games last year? So to me, that's the big challenge in the whole thing. I think we're the sleeper because I think we're the club that nobody quite understands that we spent $228 million. And when you go out and you spend that kind of money on free agents, you're going to be better. But how quickly does it come together? And if it comes together and the other teams have some problems or have a couple of injuries here and there, I think we could shock the world. I really do.
In that regard, 3 or 4 weeks from now, you talk about all those names and the money that you've spent.
Mm-hmm.
Who, what name, what maybe position room, what grouping, who will we be going, wow, we didn't see this one coming when we're talking about the Titans?
Oh, I think it's receiver. I mean, because of Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd, and then DeAndre Hopkins will be back at some point from injury, maybe as early as this week, and Traylon Burks and Nick Westbrook at Keeney. I think that's the best 1 through 5 the Titans have put on the field at wide receiver in a long, long time. And then you add in Jaquan Jackson, who can play receiver, but he's going to be the primary returner. To me, that's the group that's going to make the biggest impact. If they haven't, I think the Titans are not in a good position record-wise after 4 games for sure. Even if they have, I mean, the record may not be what you hope it is. But the bottom line, Dave, is the receiver room for what they've invested and how these guys have practiced. To me, that has to be the area that takes the biggest jump and is the most noticeable, with a lot of people saying, hey, you haven't been very good at that spot since A.J. Brown left, and unfortunately they're right.
And you have obviously got confidence that the guy, Will Levis, can get them the ball.
I have no doubt about that. I don't worry about Levis in the least. I think he's less of a question than most people think at this point. And I'm in a minority, but I see him practice every day, and I have no doubt that Levis is going to be absolutely just fine.
And you did get this break. I know you have to go to Chicago, but it's September. It could have been December.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 65 at kickoff.
Oh, wow. You're going to love that.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic.
And I haven't really been in there since they've redone that stadium. Is it a good place to call a game? You got a good vantage point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Better than Dallas?
The stadium is very nice.
Yeah.
The broadcast spots, they didn't spend the money there, but I understand.
No, I get it too.
Been there.
It's a pleasure always chatting with you. Have a good trip to Chicago on a serious basis, and we'll pick this back up and break it down next Tuesday.
See you next week.
You got it. That's our friend Mike Keith. He is the voice of the Tennessee Titans. He's brought to you by Memphis Public Links. The city of Memphis understands golf is an amenity. Great cities have golf courses, and we about have as good public golf as any city that I know of. They have done such a great job. All you got to do is go play. Go try the brand new Audubon. It's incredible. And by the way, the 6-hole short course, I think you pay $6 to play it, or you can spend $20 and play it for like 3 hours. You want to take the family, learn how to play the game. This is now the new place for juniors. If you haven't seen the clubhouse at Pine Hill or the new golf course, you're going to love what you see. Overton Park, of course, and I got to do a little shout out to Austin Chin because he's involved with all the competition. They have so many tournaments now within the golf courses. They did the Fox Meadows Championship last week or the week before. They've got still the Audubon coming up. I mean, it's truly great golf. They've really done a great job with Memphis City Golf. Just go to one of the courses, and you will thank me later. All right, we're back tomorrow, and I actually will not be here, but Brian Dacus and Zach Boyd will take over. I'll see you again on Thursday. Johnny Radio's next. Have a great day, everybody.